Hello and welcome in. We are back here in Falconer, and this is episode 2, and we're going to actually do quite a bit today. So yeah, grab yourself a cup of tea or your juice of any particular type, settle in, and let's get started. So what we're currently going to be working on is the start of kind of an industrial kind of warehouse, like big commercial area. I don't really know technically what it would be called, but like your big box stores. That's kind of what I'm thinking for this area here. But first of all, we are going to get in a cargo station in here because I really want to do one of those in each sort of neighborhood, sort of one area. But I did not realise how large they were. I think that's one way we can probably put it. There is a transfer station, and then there's just a cargo one that's like an end one, and it's one. Yeah, neither of them are really what I want. What I really want is just kind of like a small cargo station, kind of like this one, but maybe even a little bit smaller. But the trains can just go straight through it. That would make more sense, kind of like that one, but a way bit smaller, because none of these really fit. And yeah, it proves a bit of an issue. I think in the end we go for the other one, but it's not what I really wanted. I kind of was thinking maybe as like an add-on to a train station. I don't know if any modders are listening, or like asset creators even are like listening, or if it's even possible in game, but that's kind of what I want, because that would make so much more sense than having two stations like right next to each other. I don't know. Anyway, this is what we're going to kind of basically get in this kind of setup here, which is a little bit more annoying because the trains have to go past it to then go on the other line to come back. Anyway, we get it in and we get it all sorted, and I end up having to take a little bit of land from this sort of river in here just to get roads in front. I do try to put it as close as I possibly can to the existing rail line that we did last episode. Yeah. One other thing I didn't realise, and this is actually going to play quite a big part of this whole episode, I do not realise how hilly this whole section is. I have now come in post recording this and flattened quite a bit out, but you are going to see me fight with the terrain, and yeah, so just brace yourselves for that. But what we have at the moment is this big road that comes along the front of the other station, where it goes into like the car parking road. I kind of thought that would be a really nice sort of area, because you've just been like there, you can like park your car there and jump on the train or something like that. I really wanted this area to be a very commuter belt kind of area, so the train line is going to basically be one of our main kind of transport kind of. I would like an area that's full of kind of you popping on a bus, heading to the train station. From the train you can get off at your work, whether that's like in the downtown kind of area, whether that's in the port, whether that's in the industry. I'm going to try and kind of connect them all up via trains as being our main larger transport network kind of thing. I think that kind of makes sense. I don't think an underground subway network would really work in here, but yeah, I kind of want to use our overground sort of trains for that in there. And because it's the other side of this train line, you'll see I am kind of figuring out we need a little tunnel in here, and the issues I had with getting that tunnel in while I have been waffling away in there, because yeah, as you predicted, or as I predicted, it is really hilly here. Oh, I'm sorry about that one. Into there, they did not want to rotate and move. But now let's link up this train line into here and sort of get that all connected. And the other side of that, we're gonna put in some roading in for the bigger kind of like a small industrial, but also kind of like big commercial. I'm thinking here in the UK, like a B&Q, a kind of a bigger sort of like box, those sorts of shops in there that have like the big sort of warehouse sort of shops in there that have everything from electricals to sort of DIY equipment and things like that. That's kind of what I was thinking in my head with this sort of area. I do also come back through. I noticed that there's loads of trees in this sort of lake area of the river. I come back through after the video. I did some sneaky work and deleted all of those. So we are way under the tree cap now because I feel like I deleted thousands of those things from in there. As you can see, it is peppered with them in there. But anyway, we've just done a little cut ahead of getting that road in because it went on and on and on for so long. But now we are going to start detailing some of the existing areas up. So I noticed on here that the bike lanes stop at each end of this, and I thought that just doesn't really make much sense in the terms of what I really want. Like, I don't want you to stop riding your bike from this section. So what we ended up doing is adding in this little sort of bike path where you kind of cut off on one side and then you can join this sort of path over here, and also this sort of overpass, because I really didn't want zebra crossings here. I felt like this was going to be a busy main road that I thought I needed somewhere for people to be able to walk across without interfering with traffic. I know at the moment we have 0 population, nobody lives here, and we have no people. But I was kind of preparing for later on in here. So I have, as we are looking at this, we also got some bike stations. I really want this to be a kind of a very biker kind of green, like you don't have to use your car, because we're also going to be using a lot of alleyways. And this, as I said, it's kind of a UK inspired sort of world like that we're building, or city that we're building. So our roads are really narrow, and yes, you can park your car on them in some places, but others you really can't. Unfortunately, the game doesn't allow you to park on one side of an alleyway because they're kind of like designed to go around the back. I'm gonna use those as our like normal roads in here, and then we're gonna use like our 2-lane roads as one way, 2 road in there as kind of the sort of main roads. So some of them are 4, some are 2, and then most of our sort of roads where we're going to have housing on, they are just going to be little alleyways in there. I figured that makes the most sense for the UK. Let me know what you think down in there. It may change depending on sort of how busy some of the roads get. And I'm kind of dreading how much traffic affects all of this. But yeah, so we now have that overpass in. I've kind of curved one and one's a bit straighter just because we have a little bit more room for that in here. And now, yeah, I jumped ahead a little bit. I am doing something a little bit different to last week. So last week I actually did a live commentary whilst I was recording. I didn't particularly like it. It's not something I tend to do in terms of my videos, and I had some interference with my speakers. I just was not happy with the overall kind of look and feel of the whole thing. So I just decided that I would kind of do it this way, which is kind of my go-to, kind of reacting after the fact. And I've got to be honest, some of this first bit was actually recorded straight after, well, it was part of like episode 1. However, I didn't want to make that video any longer than it actually is. So yeah, I cut this out, and then I'm using at the start of this. So this is very old, so I'm learning or relearning what I'm doing whilst I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, surprise. It is for me too into that, but I really love how this all works. You can just see how bumpy this road is in here. But now we're going to get in some kind of benches. We're going to kind of just detail this area up. Now, some areas I'm going to do this with. Some other areas I'm kind of going to let the game decide some things. And you're going to see when we actually place in some buildings later on. And we'll probably talk about this at a later date as well. But I am kind of okay with some of the game placing items, but others I'm very much going to be very pernickety with. And you'll sort of see that as we go along. And I really want, I have an idea in my head of what I want this city or this sort of area, which I should actually tell you, we now have a name. I basically, like when you throw a dart onto a map to find out like where you go on holiday. Like, I don't know if anyone else did that as a kid. Yeah, well, I kind of did. I basically kind of did a digital version of that and just kind of threw myself somewhere. And I ended up in Exeter and a neighbourhood called St Thomas. And they won the lucky draw of naming the first district in here. So yeah, we are currently building up St Thomas train station. I have gone through and named some of them sort of items, and you'll sort of see as we place things, I do occasionally go back in and just name things. So you can, check that out. And if you kind of like that idea or you want to kind of name some things, let me know in the comments. This is very much going to be a collective series, I hope. So yeah, let me know kind of if that's something you are interested in as well. And yeah, we do have some cuts from this, so I apologise for that. From having that first bit, which we've now actually done, we are now on to what I recorded for episode 2. So this is really the start of episode 2. I also recorded way too much. So normally when I do a Sims build or a Planet Zoo build or something, I just build the whole thing. And then I look at it and go, okay, we need to cut this and do that and do that. With this, I didn't really know how long it was going to take to create a video of this sort of length that I was looking for. So I just block recorded like 3-4 hours because I feel like that'll be alright. I've got some material then. And yeah, that's why you're getting the second part of episode 1 in this, and then you're getting episode 2. And I'm going to be fair, coming with the next one, you're going to get the second part of episode 2. Anyway, I need to learn to manage what I'm currently building. But anyway, here is the kind of bike lane that we get in here so that you don't have to get off the bike as we do this. I do also now have a population. It is decreasing. I started this and I actually got some housing in, and I did not like how the game did it. Hence why you are now looking at this section here. And not what is going on way in the background, because I did do a little bit of work elsewhere but then deleted it. Some of you are also going to notice this is actually really hilly. Yeah, there is the train in the background. I don't like it either, and it proves a little bit problematic, as I said. Yeah, I would not like to go down that slope on a bike. I do sort it, don't panic, into there as well, because yeah, it's not ideal. But I did not even realise, I will look at it before we really started with this. I did say right at the beginning, last episode, that this map is quite hilly, in kind of the abstract of there's mountains and there's hills in the background. I didn't think about this area, but yeah, that was fun, into there. And we sort of cheat a little bit with this in here just to make it a little bit nicer for everybody in there. Anyway, I have come along since and placed all of the roads for this district out. So I've actually kind of split this into a couple, and we may see it later on, but I'm going to talk about it in there. And yeah, when we get all of that in, I've separated it. We now have a large park sort of area, which is going to be some nicer homes. We have our industrial area, and then we have our main kind of area into there. And we're going to actually jump in to a couple of time lapses. So yeah, I didn't want to do all of this in like real time. I am quite open to doing things a little bit faster and a little bit more quickly, because I don't necessarily know how big I want this to go, but I do feel like this is going to be a long series. So, but I do want to kind of detail some areas and then not others. And I feel like if we just place lots of kind of little time lapses in all of this, I think that'll be okay. Let me know what you think. But here is time lapse number 1. Okay. That we actually managed to get in quite a bit in there. So we've now got our 2 schools. We've got our primary school and our secondary school using the UK regional pack. I think they worked in there really well, and we've kind of combined them. I'm kind of thinking that they're like part of the same school. So like that whole area is like owned by the same kind of like company, because in the UK we kind of have like, I'm going to say semi-private schools. They're like owned by a company that then gets money from the government to have the schools. That kind of thing. That's kind of what I was thinking. And then you have like the big sports football field, soccer field, wherever you want to be, into there. And I kind of figured that it was maybe like part of the school. So like you could do your football after school in like a club, that sort of thing. That's what I was thinking. We then got in the big supermarket. We love our big supermarkets here in the UK. I actually went through, and you probably saw, I went through a lot of those and looked for one that was actually in the UK. The only one that I think we have in the UK of all of those is Lidl. Now, I've got to be fair, that is way too big to be a little supermarket. But anyway, we then also have our big sports pavilion in there, which I absolutely love the building for, and I thought it really worked in there as a kind of useful kind of just big building that filled up a little bit more space in there. And then we have our high street, which is the sort of, it's quite a small high street, I've got to be fair, but of like individual private kind of shops in there that kind of all just work in that row. There is a slight curve or bend within the hills and the terrain of that. And you would have seen we've also got our GP practicing, so we have our medics, and then we're also going to get in other bits and pieces later on, but I'll show you those later on. Now we're getting in these taller kind of flats in here, and I think this actually really works. If you look at any kind of town in the UK, you'll know that we have these kind of big kind of council flats. That's what this is kind of giving me, that kind of vibe in here. And this is where I said that I'm going to kind of cherry pick certain builds in here, because I thought it's just off the town centre, they've kind of got this space. I think this is going to really work in here, and I've got to be honest with you, I actually grow to kind of love this area. Now this is where some of our population comes in. What I didn't realise, these are actually high density, high demand in here. So these are like expensive flats. They are not supposed to be expensive flats. These are kind of like government owned or council owned kind of buildings. These are not designed to be expensive or like high, for people with wealth. Let's put it that way. But I kind of combine these two here, and then I kind of create in this nice little kind of section here with the different terrain, sort of terrain paint and stuff. And then we get in some more bicycles in here. They do actually drop down different heights. That's just because of the way that the terrain works. But I think this whole area is going to come together, and we are going to place some more in this kind of, we're going to fill out this little area here with all of those. So this is kind of going to be the first residential we have in here. What I'm going to do, and spoiler alert for next episode, now that I've placed all of the roads down, we're actually going to let the game pick the houses, and these are going to drop down into being like your terraced houses, just to sort of fill out that low residential sort of demand in there. I go through lots of these sorts of builds and end up picking one that I think works a little bit more suited to this kind of area. These are all a little bit too low, and then we kind of find these ones which work really nicely, kind of medium level in here. Some have parking, some don't, but I think eventually they kind of all merge together actually and kind of create a really nice council sort of terrace block, if that's even like a possibility of a thing. Anyone in the UK kind of knows what I'm talking about here, but I really wanted this kind of high-rise kind of buildings just off of the town in here, just as a really nice kind of, the council had a little bit of land and we decided to build lots of flats. Now this is not a thing anymore, sadly. We have a high housing issue here in the UK, but you know, it is what it is, and I try my best in here to make this as realistic as possible. These are also going to be the highest buildings in this area, so yeah, they're going to be the big ones, but I think it actually all kind of really works in here. And now we're just getting on these last little ones. I'm not entirely sure how many people are actually going to live in these buildings, but yeah, I kind of had an idea for how we are going to do this in here. But yeah, we are going to finish off this last little area, and then we're going to jump into our second time-lapse of this episode. Let me know if you like the little time-lapses and what you think of them. I'm open to suggestions if you want to see the whole thing in one go. So those time lapses actually proved to be quite good. So in the second one, we got over the large big park. We also got in the police station, the fire station, and a few other little bits and pieces and small housing and things like that. And we now have people living here. There's cars moving around, and I'm talking over the cinematics at the end. But yes, we are up to the end of this episode. If you have enjoyed it, then make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And also let me know in the comments what you are enjoying, what you are not. If you want to see more time lapses or things like that, yeah, let me know. And we will see. You can slightly see that there are some roads being built in the background of some of these. I did forget to do these, I've got to be honest, into here. There is a few areas that also need a little bit more work, and we'll get on to those. I might finish some of those off before next episode. I don't know. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. But this whole St. Thomas area is starting to come together, and yeah, I'm not going to say we're going to finish it next episode, but we're going to make a pretty decent sort of chunk of it done. I think the rest of it is really just going to be residential, so I'm happy with that, and I think we need people. A lot of these are also saying that we don't have enough workers and all of that, and I do really want to move on to some of our industrial zoning as well. So that is something we will get to very, very soon. But for now, if you have enjoyed this, as I say, comment, like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on pretty much all social medias. The links are in the description down below. But I will leave you until next time. Bye everyone!